Today, I want to discuss whether the concept of leadership, as we know in our corporate world, in our enterprises, is it serving the professionals? Is it serving the organization? Is it serving the companies to achieve their goal? The kind of experiences the customers of these organizations are expecting, the kind of products and services which are being expected by the market. I think we need to take a relook at the concept of leadership we have in our organizations. In our organizations, the leadership is getting institutionalized at various levels. Uh, at the level of organization structure, we institutionalize the leadership in terms of various positions, various roles. So, somebody is a business analyst who is understanding the business requirements, somebody is a product manager who is translating the customer expectations into a deliverable product. Somebody is a quality assurance manager. Somebody is making it available in the market, means the distribution manager. So there are various roles. There are sellers, there are accountants. So there are various roles in which the organization leadership get institutionalized. Now, these roles at the end of the day are being executed by human beings, though facilitated by IT systems and various other business processes. Some of business processes may be automated, some of the business processes may be manual. But at the end of the day, it is the human beings who are executing these rules, who are executing these business processes. So, leadership is trying to facilitate these roles execution. They are trying to improve upon the processes. Now, what is happening is that when the roles at the end of the day are getting executed by humans, their level of motivation is key to the success of the execution of the role. And as per my experience, this need to be now revitalized. The human beings motivation primarily comes through intrinsic factors, something inside the human beings. It doesn't come from external factors. The organization structure, the various roles, the market, all are external. That is why when human beings try to get the motivation from factors outside themselves, their energy starts flowing from them to the outside factors. And that's a drain of energy. And with the drain of energy, motivation cannot be sustained. So, this leadership model, I think, needs to be revisited. We need to have a leadership model which is increasing the energy, which does not get depleted, which right now happens from the person to the external factors. The more the person focuses on external factors, the flow of energy happens from the person to the external factors. And that's how there is a depletion of energy. So when one is executing the role by the organization, after a certain point of time, he or she finds that the role he or she has in the family, the role of a father, a brother, son, or daughter, there is no energy or little energy left for those roles. So organizations are trying to come up with concept of balance of life. And what happens is that the employees, the professionals are encouraged to take leave, vacation, so that they can recharge themselves, so that they spend some time with their family, they recharge themselves. So give a kind of attention with the family needs. But at the end of the day, it is happening like the so-called balance of life is happening, or making the person like a pendulum. So he or she is doing a sort of pendulum work. On few days he or she is energy is concentrated on one extreme of professional role, and on some other days with the role of father or family or the mother or the family roles. Again, this is a dissipation of energy. All these roles, the basic fallacy of this leadership model is that roles are thought that these roles define the person, the human being. As per my understanding, no. These are not defining the person, who the person is. These roles are not the being of the human being. These are mere activities. Only in linguistic, only in language we can say somebody is an engineer, somebody is a doctor, somebody is a father, somebody is a mother, brother, sister. No. These are mere activities or actions of one's being. One is not an engineer. Human being cannot be an engineer. Human being is just performing an act of engineering at a point of time. So these are actions. Human being may be performing the act of let's say some fathering activities or caring activities as mother. So these are activities. These are not defining the person. And that is where the person, human being attention is a split on various roles, on the activities. Activities are not source of energies. They are consumers of human energies. So what is it? So where our energy should be? Our energies come from something inside that the very human being. When we were not engineer, when we were not doctor, when we were not father, we were there. So when I was a 6-month child, when I were a 1-year child, 2-year child, I was there. I was not an engineer. I was not an architect. But I was there. So human being existence or being is irrespective of the role, the activities one is performing. Role and activities come and go. The human being, the being of itself, which was there when these activities were not there, and which will be there when when we will get retired from these activities. So our attention, our consciousness, which we call in Hindi, the Indian language, bodh, chetana. So our chetana, the bodh, the consciousness has to come back to the real being, who we are, which cannot be defined by the activities. Human being is not an engineer. Human being is not a doctor. Human being is not an architect. Human being is not a father. Human being is not a mother. Human being is not a not the various roles one is performing. These are mere some activities which are getting executed through the human being. And energy of these activities come from that real you, the being. So attention should flow to that real being. So instead of the the uh, the the let's say what should we say, we are not pendulum. We should consider ourselves human beings something like a sun around which various planets revolve. The human being is the center and which can nurture the various roles like planetary roles the human being is executing those activities. The way sun is providing the energy to these various orbiting uh, entities, the same way, if the human being can access that center of himself or herself, then energy will be flowing through, or let's say be falling on those the various roles we perform: father, mother, doctor, engineer, the architect in an organization, or the CEO or CFO, those various roles. And it's not like pendulum. It's like you are flowering and you are radiating energy in the directions. And once the human being gets access to this center of his or her core, then all these roles get nurtured. And they are not competing with each other for attention or energy. And this center, we should realize that it goes beyond our certificates, our degrees, any act that we perform. Our successes, our failures, it's transcending that. And that's how we can be, and this, once we access this source of energy, the center, when we are an engineer, we are graded against other engineers in the organization. Somebody is a excellent engineer in terms of the contribution one is making to the organization. Somebody is a good engineer, not excellent. But there is a comparison. And that engineer now does starts acquiring the knowledge of more and more knowledge about architecture or the field in which one is supposed to contribute. Arrange degrees, arrange certifications. But at the end of the day, whatever he or she achieves, it's in comparison with somebody where he or she would find that he or she is falling short of. That's where this concept of centering becomes important. Here, from the center, one is nurturing the role, the activities of the architect, or the doctor, or the father, or the mother. One is not comparing at all. When one is successful, success is just one of the outcome of the activities. It does not define the real you. And when there is a failure, again it does not define the real you or does not impact it. That's why in that state you will be able to open to others' ideas, and you will be open to accept the comparison also. Without being aware of the center of human being, when we are not aware in that state, the comparison leads to frustration, competitiveness leads to frustration. It is dissipation of energy. But when in a state when we are aware of our center, we know that these activities do not define us. So we are more open to learn, more open to improve, more open to learn from others. And more importantly, the now the creativity starts coming from something inside you, and in your role it gets manifested. So you become source of creativity, and that is what today's world needs, today's organization needs. Today's organizations do not lead leaders who lead other human beings. That concept at the end of the day curtails the creativity of individual human beings. It does not allow human beings to reach their center and then from that center manifest their creativity. The traditional concept of leadership, where leading others is considered the real thing, in today's world, I think leading others is not a good idea. It's about accessing our center of creativity of our being, and let the creativity come from that and manifest in the various roles we are performing. So it's something which is non-competitive. We need leadership concept which allows human beings to access their infinite energy. We can understand through an analogy the various roles which I talked, the architect role, the CFO roles, the mother, father, various roles that we perform. These are like waves on the sea. And when one wave, the role which we perform in our office, sees another wave, the role we perform in our family, we think that the wave sees that there are other competing waves. Some wave is rising, some wave is dying. In a sense that there are so many waves which are competing, which are fighting each other, which are different from each other. And that's why we think that these roles, the activities that we perform, are pulling us in various directions and making us frustrated. But when we access our center, so when the wave accesses the center is the sea. And when the waves start looking out, instead of looking outside, the various waves start looking inward, the sea itself, they find that it's the same sea the wave has, the other waves also have the same sea. There is no difference. Those roles are getting energy from the same sea. The waves are getting different waves, hundreds, thousands, or infinite waves, or the roles we perform. The source of their energy is the same sea, the same we, the same real core, human being, which is something infinite. And then we develop a respect for the various roles. Then we find that these various roles are nothing but the manifestation of the same energy. Then one wave doesn't have to compete with the other. It doesn't have to become more successful and do something different than the other wave is performing. Let's get access to our sea. And then these roles that we perform just becomes the one of the waves. And then we will nurture those waves. And nurturing of the wave should not happen at nurturing of the wave. You do not nurture a flower by taking care of the flower. You take care of the flower by nurturing the roots which are not visible, which are somewhere deep inside you. So get access to that deep inside you. The various flowers, the various roles that you perform will get nurtured. That is the kind of leadership we need nowadays. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening to me. This is Pankaj Verma.